Live from Studio 67 in Florida's capital county, it's time to get fact-checked.
Access granted.
Greetings, good people. Happy Friday. Hope all is well. It is your favorite public policy team here in Tallahassee, checking in with our fact check to give you a rundown of everything that happened at the Capitol for week 3 of the 2026 legislative session. I'm Tonette.
I'm Courtney.
And I'm Peter.
Oh, hey guys. So we made it. We made it through
end of week 3.
Whew, thought it was going to never come to an end. But we got here. We had Broward in the building for Broward Days. Very, very busy. Much fun. Let's get down to business. We got a lot to go over in a little bit of time. So let's kick it off with our growth management queen. Court, what did you have going on this week?
This week we were fully jam-packed. I'm not going to go through every bill because we've seen a couple of them now. We did have the commercial construction project bill up over in the House again that passed through its final committee. So we've got 2 more stops in the Senate. We did have the impact fee bill up for the first time in the House this week. You know, we've already seen that one in the Senate. We had agriculture enclaves up again in the House. That one was already up in the Senate. Both of those did pass, so they will move on to their next committee stops. There were a few newer bills this week that we hadn't had the chance to talk about yet, so I did want to point those out. The first one I'm going to talk about is what we are calling the starter home bill. There obviously is still a push to get more affordable units in the state, regardless if that is rental units or first-time homebuyer units. So this push has come from a group who has done a lot of studying all across the country to see how to fit more density into our urban areas by doing what they call lot splitting. What this bill does is forces all local governments to have minimum lot sizes of 1,200 square feet. Okay. So the whole point is that they can fit, you know, like I was saying, a lot more density on an area. And they're doing this through the lot splitting process. So the way that the bill is outlined is that a parent parcel could be split into 8 parcels, and you can have continuous splits every year. So the issue for us here is that the bill is lacking what to do when subdivisions are going to be, you know, outside of our urban service district but inside of our growth boundary. The bill states that, you know, these units have to be hooked up to water and sewer, but it doesn't talk about anything else. It doesn't talk about infrastructure or fire or EMS or any of those things that a subdivision that could come of this size would really require. And, you know, we know developers love to hold on to land. So any land that is available for residential would have to go into this lot split, which could cause a lot of tiny subdivisions, you know, outside of our urban areas, but inside that growth boundary. And it's just not in the projected area that we planned for the growth just yet. There was an amendment tacked on to this one before committee that allows for manufactured homes to be treated the same way that a regular constructed house would be treated in these zoned areas. So we are trying to look at the full effects of that as well. The other bill that I wanted to talk about was the infill redevelopment bill. This is kind of targeted at, broadly, I will say, areas, brownfield areas, to get those redeveloped. Currently, how the bill is written, it would only be for Palm Beach, Miami, Broward, and Orange County, and that the parcel just has to be environmentally impacted in one of those 4 counties, and then we have to administratively approve it if it's 5 acres or more. That was the other requirement. Okay. So the bill really surpasses all of our development order processes that we already have, and forces us to administratively approve the single houses or townhouses that they want to put on this land with the density that is required in the bill as well. So obviously this is another big preemption bill that we are trying to work through with the other stakeholders. So we're working on that one too. But growth management, as per usual, is busy and will continue to stay busy. But I did want to point out those two because a lot that we heard this week were on their second or third committee stops.
Always
for those
growing. Thank you so much for your diligent and hard work. Peter, what's been going on in the world of ag?
Well, first, I would like to start off by saying we are very happy to hear that President Alberton is on the mend. Unfortunately, we heard it towards the beginning of the week that he was under the weather, but we're very happy to hear that he is doing better. And with regards to ag, unfortunately, we were seeing, with regards to ag, we had a little bit of drama this week. On Tuesday, the DAX package was temporarily postponed in Chair Pasadomo's Rules Committee. I know. And what followed was quite the surprise of the Florida politics arena. We had Agricultural Commissioner Simpson criticize Chair Pasadomo on Twitter over his belief that she is blocking the Farm Bill. Now, that's not what the process looked like it was actually happening. The bill sponsor, Senator Trunow, did request to have the bill temporarily postponed as there were ongoing conversations that the senator and the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Affairs were having with stakeholders, and hopefully it is going to be heard soon. I know it's not on the rules agenda next week. Senator Trunow did say he's working with stakeholders to make sure that all the issues are squared away. This begs the question as if the issue of it being temporarily postponed was focused just on process or if it was more on the merits of the bill. As you guys know, chairs of committees do have the indulgence of silently killing or not hearing bills in order for them to make sure that their issues are squared away. So we will continue watching. And we are working to extend the compliance for biosolid. As you know, the bill contains a prohibition of applying biosolids the bill contains provisions that says you can no longer apply Class B or Class A biosolids, and it is only Class AA biosolids. And so some counties might need a longer time to implement that, so we're working with DAX to extend that to a couple years further down the line.
Okay, all right. What else you got for us?
In the tech world, we supported Senator Leak's cybersecurity bill. This is the same bill that was heard last week in IT by Representative G. Lombardo.
Yes, for your bills moving on up.
Yeah, we always love supporting bills.
Must be nice.
As I mentioned,
Never done it.
As I mentioned last
Join
week,
the club, friend.
the bill, as originally filed, would have limited counties to adopting only the cybersecurity standards and processes established in the Florida Digital Service, which is housed within DMS. And the bill did have a friendly amendment which removed those mandates and retains the bill's original liability protection for counties as long as they comply with recognized cybersecurity standards or frameworks, they maintain disaster recovery plans, and implement multi-factor authentication. The bill sponsor explained that in this day and age, there's just so many ways for hackers and bad actors to really disrupt the system, and it gets to a certain point where you can only do so much, and as long as you can show that you are complying with all the recommended safeguards, you can be shielded from liability, because liability would be through the roof if there wasn't these kinds of protections. So we were able to support the bill in committee. Senator Leak has been very gracious with his time.
All right. We are grateful for that. And hopefully with President Alberton on the mend, he might get a little grace, and maybe we can say some sympathy votes and get that rural renaissance package across the finish line this year, huh?
Yeah, well, it did pass the Senate floor the first week of session. What we're waiting on is the House. I don't know if the House is going to play ball. Rep. Abbott's got the Rural Counties bill, and it is a fraction of the size of the Rural Renaissance. It contains several provisions that provide more grant money to fiscally constrained counties. It doesn't have the revision of the fiscally constrained county formula or definition, so it looks like there might be some friction there, but we will be closely monitoring it.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for that update. Court, you got another bill for us?
I do have one other bill for you guys that I wanted to touch on. The Land Use and Development Regulation Bill, House Bill 399. This is the companion to 208 that has the compatibility and development order language in it that we worked on to get to a place that we were more comfortable with. And last minute on Monday night, Rep. Barrero added an amendment to his bill dealing with our urban service, dealing with our rural boundaries for our charter counties.
Okay.
So this amendment did change the bill greatly for us. The bill states that notwithstanding any charter ordinance or rule dealing with future land use elements, charter counties have to do this by majority vote. And some of our counties have voted to have a supermajority vote for these issues because they really want to protect, their rural areas or just areas that they don't want developed on. I mean, I think Palm Beach has some agricultural areas that they don't want to develop on, and they have a similar situation. So does Miami-Dade. So we're trying to get the full effects of this one, but we do know that it is going to affect our charter counties. And obviously this is a huge concern for us right now, but it also opens up the floodgates of what's next. How many more times is the legislature going to preempt our charter counties when they can self-govern under their own constitution if they want to? So we're looking into this one. We know it's a big one, and hopefully we can get it out of the bill.
Been keeping you busy non-stop this week. Non-stop. I think literally the only time I saw you was on Wednesday at our county lobbyist lunch. You stayed in meetings, working bills all week long. All right, over in my world, health, safety, and justice, just for information items, in our, what we love to call him, the dean, Senator Stan McClain's Community Affairs Committee in the Senate Bill 984, the Firefighter Cancer's Benefit and Prevention Bill, passed unanimously, which was sponsored by Senator Nick DeSigley. That bill updates Florida law on firefighter cancer benefits and expands the responsibility for current and former employers. Under existing statute, firefighters diagnosed with cancer can get benefits instead of pursuing workman's comp as long as they meet the eligibility requirements that include at least 5 years of continuous service, no tobacco use for 5 years, and no other recent high-risk employment. But the bill clarifies that the benefits, cancer treatment coverage, and reimbursement for out-of-pocket medical costs, along with a one-time cash payment of $25,000, must remain available from a former employer for up to 10 years after the firefighter leaves employment, provided that the firefighter is no longer employed as a firefighter again. And this bill also extends the death benefit obligations to former employers in limited circumstances. The legislation would take effect, if passed in both chambers, on July 1st, 2026. The House companion, House Bill 813 by Rep. Busada, passed its first committee hearing. Another big one in my world is House Bill 105 by former mayor of Vero Beach, Representative Brackett. This bill is the Local Government Enforcement Actions Bill, which allows businesses to challenge a county or city or a special district if they think that the local government rules are being enforced in an unfair or unreasonable way and stopping them from moving forward. The bill would stop local governments from starting or threatening enforcement actions that a court later could say is unfair, unreasonable, or not allowed by local law. It'll also set up a formal review process with specific steps and deadlines and allow court challenges to remain in certain situations. This bill could limit how the flexibility that local governments have currently in enforcing codes and regulations. It would also require stricter timelines, more paperwork, and added costs for counties and possible additional legal expenses. So we have definitely been working with the sponsor, providing some language for amendments. We'll see what happens and what he takes in the next committee. So keep your eye and ear out for that. On the Senate side, Ardeen has the companion Senate Bill 588, and it has not been heard in any committees yet. So we'll see what happens, huh?
You're staying pretty busy yourself over there.
Listen, we're trying. One more in my world. First responders, Senate Bill 1286 was heard in banking and insurance this week, and it passed unanimously, sponsored by Senator Wright. This bill renames the Florida Law Enforcement Recruitment Bonus Payment Program within FDLE, expanding the incentive to include newly employed firefighters. Recruitment and retention of firefighters remains an ongoing challenge. And so the purpose of this bill is to get more folks in, our first responders world and try and get them with incentives and benefits. And this bill would take effect upon becoming law. So we'll see how it moves, what happens on the House side, and see where this goes. I foresee it probably being plugged into something else in another package. But hey.
You mean that when they just tie things together because they can?
I mean, you know how it goes. But Peter, what's going on in the H2O world? What you had this week?
Yep. Well, Senate Environment with Chair Rodriguez. We had a bill, Senate Bill 558, Standards for Stormwater Systems. This bill has been on my radar for a couple months, and I've been speaking with both the House and Senate sponsor because this bill is a one-size-fits-all approach that really does not work for the whole state. Essentially, the intent of the bill is to establish uniform standards for the installation and inspection of stormwater systems across the state. He wants standards to be aligned with DOT's pipe and culverts standards for stormwater systems. And now, many counties already use DOT guidelines for material specifications. DOT's got a whole list of the different materials you can use for these kinds of pipes and liners. But some communities go above and beyond. Some communities, like rural communities that are inland, might not need these DOT standards. So while it might bring down some more stringent counties, it might unnecessarily bring up some counties that might not need it. And FDOT standards are more appropriate for rights-of-way projects. I mean, not every single stormwater project is a right-of-way project. So we are working. I did testify in committee and make it known that we are for standards. We understand and we completely support standards that improve efficiency and better outcomes. And there's a second part of the bill that is equally as concerning, is that it is saying that you need to have third-party inspections by certified engineers, and many counties already having these internal inspections. So this would prove to be duplicative and expensive and would need to garner more resources, where some counties are already having to cut back on projects due to lack of funds. It seems like it might be a little bit vendor-driven, so we are making sure that committee members know, both on the House and Senate side, because while we understand the sponsor's intent to improve the efficiency of these stormwater systems and the reliability of these stormwater systems, one size just does not fit all in this world. And then on the flip side, we did have the opportunity to support two very important bills in the water world. One was by Senator Trumbull and House sponsor Rep. Andrade, that gives counties and cities the ability to pass ordinances and regulations which has to do with derelict vessels, so vessels that are, incapacitated and sinking, soon to be derelict vessels, so vessels that might be abandoned, as well as the permitting for long-term anchoring. This is very much needed. I grew up in Miami. I mean, we have many, many, many coastal counties, many miles of coast in this state. And if you just go to the water and you look out by a marina, you look out by a very trafficked area, by boats, you will see half-submerged vessels, abandoned vessels, and FWC's done a great job, but this really lets local governments coordinate with FWC in passing these ordinances, and it also allows us to designate a code enforcement officer to deal with these kinds of situations. So we were very happy to support the bill both in the Senate and the House, and we also were able to support Rep. Mooney from the Keys, nature-based coastal resiliency, which is really trying to strengthen Florida's coastal resiliency by setting up a statewide framework for permitting of nature-based solutions to dealing with erosion, sea level rise, stormwater. Think of living walls, these walls that have coral on them. Think of restoration of mangroves in order to stop when hurricanes are coming, because mangroves really help with stormwater surge. We were there to support this for Rep. Mooney, and the Senate version by Senator Garcia, also from Miami, from the South Florida area, I believe is a little bit different, and so we're trying to see how both of them will come together. It's past the Environment and Natural Resources as well, so they both look like they're moving swiftly.
Oh, right. That was a great educational lesson for us. Pivoting back over to HSJ, I guess I had to save the best one for last. The biggest one for last this week. House Bill 693 by Representative Redondo. The big Health and Human Services bill, as the Florida little slice and piece from the what? Big, beautiful bill. But this bill makes a lot of changes to how healthcare and some health programs work in Florida. It removes some of the old rules that made it harder to build certain health facilities. It lets emergency medical workers and physician assistants, it makes it more easy for them to work in other states. And it lets advanced nurses and dental assistants do more things that they're trained for. So it kind of, pushes out the way of the dentists and the folks, who go to school all of those years, just sliding them in. Hey, with this, you can get through and do it a little quicker, a little easier on the side. The bill also changes who can get SNAP and adds more requirements for some working adults and their dependents. And it tells the state to fix mistakes in, what is labeled in the bill as mistakes to how SNAP is ran. It makes Florida follow new federal laws for Medicaid and our Kid Care program, which limits health coverage for some legal immigrants and makes doctors and patients know about costs from out-of-network care. Overall, it updates it'll change a lot of the health laws and programs to align with the federal policies in the big, beautiful bill. There was a lot of comments on this bill from speakers as well as the Ds, but it did, however, pass committee 12-4, and it is moving to its next committee stop. I'm curious to see how the work that will be done with committee staff and legislators as it prepares to hit its next stop. This won't be the final bill. I think it'll definitely be a lot of changes ahead of this. But as we wrap up this week, let me know what you're looking most forward to for next week, and who was your favorite legislator you got the opportunity to work with this week. Courtney, kick us off.
I think my favorite was Botana. I've never talked to this guy.
Really?
But he's awesome.
Okay.
He just has a great personality too.
Head boat washer.
Yeah, he's
what does
hilarious.
that mean?
His family owns a marina.
They do.
Oh, okay.
And he used to
jokingly calls himself the head boat washer.
Yeah, and he used to work carnivals or own a carnival, something like that.
Oh,
But it's
wow.
as much as we are, dealing with these guys on a combat level with the bills that they file, it's like we also have to remember that they are people, and he is actually a really cool person. So,
What about you, Peter?
Oh, I had many wonderful conversations with many wonderful legislators, but I definitely want to thank Senator Mayfield for having such an open door and hearing our concerns, bringing up those concerns in committee. She really does care about local government. So this week it's Senator Debbie Mayfield, and I am looking forward to Manatee County Days next week. Woo!
Oh, yay. So I will probably say this week I had the opportunity to meet with the most legislators on Wednesday. It was nonstop. Like, literally, y'all, my feet were killing me by the end of Broward Days and making those rounds with Boss Man. Nonetheless, I would have to say my favorite legislator this week was the Honorable Danny Alvarez. Like, literally meeting with him was so much fun. So the bill was not up this week, but got an opportunity to meet with him to work on the public safety bill, House Bill 1427. And this bill would centralize the 911 emergency call and dispatch services in each county or region under a unified call center to enhance emergency responsiveness and prohibit call transfers within the same jurisdiction. So we've been working with him on this bill, and as well as Senator Nick DeSigley for the last few weeks, but just the opportunity to literally sit down, map out all of our concerns, which some of our issues include that, if the board, the ECC or the RCC cannot come to a unanimous decision, it would default to the sheriffs. The bill as is leaves out campus cops. And so with, the recent shootings in Tallahassee at Florida State and just around the state, we want to make sure that everybody is covered and everybody is protected. And of course, this bill is a result of Ground Zero in Broward, the Parkland incident. So just the work that he and Senator DeSigley have been doing on this, and their willingness to bring counties to the table and address our concerns and work with us on this, it definitely has been refreshing. But just his personality, got an opportunity to meet Miss Heather, his wife, his beautiful little daughter. They were just so sweet, and it was so fun. So he would definitely be my favorite, and looking forward to hopefully hearing this bill in the House Intergovernmental Affairs Subcommittee soon. So we'll see what happens. All right, for our deputies download, week 3. Senate Bill 1444, preemption to the state, passed Senate Community Affairs. This bill expands the state preemption over religious gatherings, post-disaster permitting decisions, mutual benefit corporations, preempts local licenses, operational restrictions, and provides civil remedies. It also limits local authority over certain residential parking regulations. House Bill 213, Property Assessment Limitations, passed House Ways and Means Committee. This bill proposes a constitutional amendment shifting assessment increases from annual to once every 3 years non-school levies. It keeps Save Our Homes cap, but applies over a 3-year period. This bill lowers non-homestead assessment cap from 15% to 10% over 3 years, and it adds limits preventing reductions in public safety funding below the fiscal year 2025-2026 or fiscal year 2026-2027 levels starting at fiscal year 2027 to 2028. Senate Bill 332, public meetings for attorney-client sessions, passed Senate Judiciary Committee. This bill allows counties to hold closed attorney-client sessions during the 90-day notice period for Burt Harris Act claims. It preserves sunshine law safeguards, and it was supported by FAC and in our legislative action plan. Our last bill in our deputies download is Senate Bill 856, disclosure of estimated algorithm taxes, passed Senate Finance and Tax unanimously. It requires online real estate listing platforms to display estimated taxes using a DOR method. It prevents reliance on the current owner's tax bill for estimates, requires disclaimers about exemptions, portability, and other variations, and provides immunity for inaccuracies. If passed, this bill would take effect on July 1st, 2026. That's it for our Deputies Download, first session, week 3. All right, guys, we are down to what? 42 days to go?
Something like that.
That sounds about right.
I think it's
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to next week, Delta Days at the Florida Capitol.
That's exciting.
I guess we'll see. It'll be exciting on Wednesday when it's all over. But love my sisterhood. That's it for now. Signing out until next time. It's Courtney, Peter, and Tonette, your favorite local government public policy team. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.
Bye,
Take
everybody.
care.
Bye.